All right, we are live. Special double header of Fixture Focus. As always, I'm your host, Justin Wasik, coming to you from Chicago. And with me today is my guest from, where in Oklahoma are you from, Chuck?
I'm just south of Stillwater, Oklahoma, where Oklahoma State University is.
Gotcha. Okay, awesome. Are you spending your holidays in Oklahoma?
Actually, no, I'm in Connecticut
Oh
today
yeah, you did
with
tell me
my
that.
with my in-laws. So about halfway across the country, but yeah, we're in snowy Connecticut today.
Okay. Are you gonna spend New Year's there as well, or will you be back home for New Year's?
No, actually, I will be going back because I mentioned Stillwater. I'm actually the announcer for the Oklahoma State University marching band. So I've got to go back
Oh,
to the bowl
cool.
game in Houston. So I'll go from here to Houston and link up with the band and do that gig, and then I'll drive back on the band bus from Houston to Stillwater. So
So who are you guys playing, by the way?
in the bowl game, we've got Texas A&M.
Okay, this will be a good game. So when you say that you're the announcer for the band, what does that mean?
So literally when there's like the PA announcer for the whole stadium, he's a guy that's kind of a legend. But when the band's on, so just when the band comes on, it's me. So I'll do the whole like radio voice,
Gotcha.
ladies and gentlemen, now entering the field, that kind of deal. So
Oh, nice. That was good.
thanks,
You're a
thanks.
pro. You're a pro.
I don't know about pro, but it's a fun gig. I marched for a long time, was involved with it, and so eventually they were kind of like, "Why don't you do this instead?" And so it's all good.
Cool. That's cool. That's cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I've always wanted to go to a Bedlam game. I always wanted to go to.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a super intense rivalry. At least on
Yes.
our side of it. I don't know that OU fans always feel the same way as we do. I don't think they take it quite as serious as we do. But it's a great, as far as like just college football environment. You're not going to
Yeah.
get much better than that one. So
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, again, thanks for joining. Appreciate it, Chuck. We'll get into Leicester. So,
yeah.
given that it's your first time on the show, I want to ask, how did you become a Leicester fan?
Well, simply enough, my last name is Lester, spelled the more anglicized way with just the Lester. And so my paternal grandfather had done a lot of genealogy work, and we knew that our people way back actually did come from Leicester and the Leicestershire area. So I was aware of the place before I ever knew who the Foxes were, and was like kind of intrigued in that sort of like where you come from way about Leicester. And so in the 2014 season, when League Pass was a thing, we had just been promoted for the first time in a while. Went through the whole like all the way down to League One, and we were in administration for a while and the whole bit. So really kind of off the radar, at least on this side of the pond. So 2014, we get up to the Premier League for the first time, and it coincided with NBC having League Pass, which my cable company held. And so I thought, I had played soccer as a kid, but in all honesty, had not remained a huge fan necessarily. I was probably one of the typical American, you know, dummies. It's like, oh, it's boring. It ends in a 0-0 tie or whatever. So I thought, well, here's a team that I have some interest in because of my like own personal history. I give this whole soccer thing a shot again. I did like it when I was a kid, but I just hadn't watched it. And
Right.
almost immediately, it was a little frightening. Like even my wife was like, "What are you doing watching soccer?" But I would be up every Saturday morning or Sunday morning, and I was pretty hooked in. And obviously, that year was sort of our great escape. We were relegation fodder for most of it until the very end. And then, of course, 2015 happens. And at that point, I was just hooked. So that's kind of the story. I guess in a lot of ways, I probably count as a plastic fan or whatever since I'm relatively new.
Uh,
But I did stick with us through the whole relegation thing. That's really when my fandom was born, was through that relegation battle, because I really hadn't, I guess, understood um, how interesting both halves of the table can be, right? At any given time in the EPL, it's not just the people at the top that are fighting for their lives; it's people at the bottom. So, anyway,
Right, right. Now, I don't think you're a plastic fan, especially because you started supporting Leicester before the Premier League title. But I do want to touch upon that. So during that season, you're watching and you guys are starting off well, and at that time it was your best start to a Premier League campaign. Um,
yeah.
what was that season like? Like, and I'm also interested in, like, when did you really start to think, okay, this actually may be a possibility here?
So, I mean, I think that's a super interesting question, and probably my newness, I guess. I kind of felt like to be, I guess, to compare it to sports over here. I wasn't realizing. I don't think. I mean, I knew the odds. I knew it was 5,001, and I knew that it was our best start ever. But I was thinking more along the lines of like in NCAA basketball, a team that comes out of nowhere, and you know that every now and then there's one of those that sneaks up and wins. So for me, I was always kind of the mindset, especially moving into around this time of year. By the time we got to like Christmas and Boxing Day, and we were still kind of right there at the top, I was like, well, I mean, we've got a puncher's chance, if nothing else. And so I don't think that I ever saw it as quite the big Cinderella story as it was. I don't think it really hit until later in the season when everybody started to, because also it was it took such a long time for the pundits and for sort of the English soccer media to finally get on board and go, this could actually happen. I
Yeah,
mean, for so long they were like, it, it'll flash in the pan, it'll work itself out. There's no way they're going to win the league. By the time they then started to actually go, you know what, this could happen, and started to bring in all of the history and like this has never happened before. That's, I think, when the sort of enormity of it hit me as well. But
yeah. So
yeah.
when they did end up winning it, what were your feelings? What were your thoughts? I mean, what I could only imagine as a West Ham fan what that must feel like.
I mean, honestly, it was just crazy, right? Those last 3 weeks, because then at some point you start to, it was all like, there's nothing on the line at first. We're playing with house money, right? No matter where we finished by, the second half of the season, for sure, it was going to be better than people expected. But by the time you get to that last like 2 months of the season, you know that you've got something to lose at that point. It wasn't just like Leicester games I'm watching. I'm watching all the other, like Tottenham, wanting them to lose points and give. It became all consuming, and it was like you're on, pins and needles until finally Eden Hazard breaks through and gets a goal here or there and puts them away, and I was going nuts at somebody else's game, because it meant
Yeah,
we were going to win. We couldn't be caught. So
yeah, yeah. No, I remember that game like it was yesterday because I was, even though I didn't have any skin in the game myself, I was obviously such an incredible story to follow,
yeah.
and an incredible story to just watch unfold. And so I was definitely following along, as I think a lot of fans were.
Yeah, yeah.
So let's fast forward to the team this year, the team that actually has started the best, like their best start to a Premier
Yep.
League season, even better than the title winners. So the first question I want to ask you though about this season, just yes or no, do you think you can win the league this year?
Especially after yesterday, no. If I'm being honest,
Right.
I mean, I don't think that we can win the league. I'm not sure that we could have anyway, just because at this point everybody is going to need Liverpool's help, right? I mean, it's not just going to. They're going to have some, either I don't know, a major injury or something, I think, for them to really lose the kind of points that they would need to get people back legitimately in it. But I don't know, it's a long season. I know things can happen. I don't necessarily see them stumbling. But
Gotcha. Yeah, I would say that if you guys beat City yesterday, I would have said, okay, it's a two-team race. But
uh,
yeah, no, I'm not so sure. I mean, Liverpool just don't look like they're going to lose at all.
no, they don't. And
Yeah,
I'm right there with you. Yesterday for me was a big litmus test, because I felt like, because we've got them coming up next. So we've got Liverpool next. So
gotcha.
if we were able to go on a little two game winning streak against City and Leicester, I felt like, elite or City and Liverpool.
Right.
Then you
Yeah.
figure you've got the gap down to 7 points, and then at least it's not completely inconceivable that they're going to have 3 games where they either pick up a draw or they lose somewhere along the line.
Right.
But and for a 4 game stretch where they either don't pick up any points or they draw, I just not the way they're playing right now. I don't see it.
Yeah. So let's rewind a little bit towards the beginning of the season. You guys finished ninth, I believe, last year. I think actually West Ham and Leicester finished level on points.
Yep.
So heading into this season, what were your expectations?
Well, I mean, going back to last season, I think there was real hope, even though we weren't. The fan base was never really coalescing around Claude Puel, but I think based on the signings, right? We Harvey Barnes coming up, James Madison coming into the squad. I think there was some hope even last season, that those last European spots were at least in play. So, finishing ninth, and you look at some of the signings that we made, and feeling like you've at least got a chance at getting in sixth or seventh in that sort of Europa League area, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
And so, once Puel was gone and we draw in Brendan Rodgers, and then all the things that have happened since, I think coming into this season for sure, I would say, I, I know I'll say it for me. I don't know if I can speak for the fan base as a whole, but for me, that sort of like seventh or above line was sort of my expectation, honestly.
Gotcha.
So
Obviously, then given that so far you guys have exceeded expectations. You guys have played such just beautiful soccer. It's really
yeah,
a pleasure to watch. Brendan Rodgers has simply just been a revelation for the club. It's been a revelation for Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy has woken up from his slumber, now leads the league in goals. Scored again yesterday. What
that's a
what
great
have
finish, by
been?
the way.
Yeah, what has been the? I don't know. What have been the keys to this overwhelming success for the club? What have been the factors that have allowed Leicester to perform at such a high level?
So, from my standpoint, there's a few things. Everybody obviously knows, during the going back to 2015, a lot of what happened that year was we caught people by surprise, and they never really respected sort of the way that we could counterattack. But that's all we had. That 4-4-2 that we set in with Ranieri, we had a solid back four. And then we had a couple of midfielders, Danny Drinkwater and N'Golo Conte, that Conte was everywhere. It was like there were 4 of him on the field. And
Yeah,
Drinkwater that season was amazing at getting the ball up over the top. But that's all we
yeah,
had. If we had to play workup, and teams that invited us onto them, even that season, we were not very effective at all. That's the thing that's changed under Rodgers. Now we can do both. If we have a team that invites us on, we are. I mean, we're obviously not the most dangerous in workup play, but we do try and play some from the back in the sort of Barcelona way. And Rodgers talked about after the game yesterday, watching Man City just be clinical against us. I mean,
yeah,
it was beautiful and also painful to
yeah.
watch.
No, they had a great game.
But he talked about how he's been a follower of Pep and that sort of Barcelona style, and it really shows. He's gotten people to buy in, and so we really hit the we've got Chilwell out on the left and Ricardo out on the right, and using those channels and really kind of bringing the ball up either side and then working back with little three-man games, little passes in between and runs. We've had a lot of success creating some really good chances from that. And then, of course, you've got James Madison roaming around the middle. So I think it's a combination, back to your question, of the personnel that are just sort of gelling around each other and getting to know each other. Tielemans was a big signing as a connector, and really buying into that idea of being able to pass into places and pass into space, and really making a lot of passes and teamwork and that kind of attacking football, as opposed to just the one shot over the top, one touch and finish.
Yeah, I mean, you guys definitely now have the personnel to start playing from the back more. Definitely more talented than the 15-16 team, if I'm being honest.
Absolutely.
Your fullbacks are really effective at bringing the ball up. Ricardo and Chilwell. Center backs are solid this year. Obviously, you have James Madison, who's all over the place. Vardy scoring goals. Harvey Barnes is a great young attacking player. Winger, is he a winger?
I would say that they play him in that sort of like false nine. He runs around and sometimes he's out. A lot of times what you'll see is link up play with he and Chilwell. So he'll be over on the left side. Chilwell will bring a big run in, and then Harvey will set up just inside of that in the channel. He'll be the first pass that Chilwell makes when he finally gets done bringing the ball up, and then he will go either left back to Chilwell or right to Madison, to a more central position. So that's kind of he'll have two options when he gets the ball, that he can either dump it down low and Chilwell will continue his run and cross in, or he'll flip it over to Madison and we'll try and play in the middle of the field. So that's kind of I don't know exactly if it would be a traditional winger necessarily, but he sort of plays in that sort of left center.
Gotcha. So given your expectations were a European spot at the beginning of the season, and safe to say, I'm going to assume they've exceeded your expectations so far.
Yeah.
What at this point of the season, what are your expectations? Have they changed? Are they still the same? What are you thinking?
I mean, just looking at the point differential at this point, and where we've put ourselves before Christmas. At this point, I mean, I don't think it's changed in the sense that, like I said, I don't think that I can realistically expect. I'll still hope for the fact that we'll be in it to the end and fighting Liverpool for first again. But I don't think realistically I can expect that. I do think that we're to a stage where, honestly, top 4 or 5 should be a thing, unless we really shoot ourselves in the foot at this point. If for no other reason, then we've got enough cushion that even if we drop some points along the line, as long as we play decent football from here on out, we should be good to go.
Gotcha. So yeah, top. Yeah, you never know.
Knock on wood.
Yeah. So top 4 is the expectation, and that makes sense for me. I think I'm looking at the table now. You guys are on 39. Sheffield United's the nearest, or I guess they're 5th. They're just outside the top 4. So they're 20 on 28, an 11-point difference. Yeah, it's going to be hard to make that up, especially the way Leicester are playing. I mean, you guys only have 3 losses, a 27-goal differential. Yeah, I don't know. If I was a Leicester fan, I certainly would be pretty upset if you guys didn't finish in the Champions League positions.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I would be there too. So now moving on to the actual fixture. So I know you guys. So you guys play. Who do you guys? You guys play Liverpool at home.
We've got Liverpool.
Yeah. So I mean, really, I think that's a must-win if you guys have any chance to win the league. It's a must.
100% agree.
Yeah, has
100%
to be
agree.
3 points. Um, and at the King Power, who knows what can happen? You guys it's a fortress for you guys. But moving on to the West Ham match after on the 28th. What? So I don't know how much have you watched West Ham? What do you know about West Ham this season thus far, if anything? If not, it's cool. It's just wondering.
No, I mean, a lot of what I know about West Ham, I learned from Tom Rennie. Um,
Okay.
I don't know if you're on Sirius XM or whatever, but
No.
he does Grumpy Pundits a lot as a stand-in the morning, and he's a huge. I mean, he's one of the main soccer presenters anyway, but he's a huge West Ham fan,
Okay.
unapologetically so. But
Okay.
he talks about you guys all the time. I know that it's been a little bit of a. I don't think it's a stretch to say it's been a disappointing season.
Yeah.
I know that Pellegrini has been sort of involved in like the hot seat situation where nobody's quite sure if he's going to stick, or if he's going to get fired. I know that can be tough. And I know that it seems anyway that the attack has been a little not sure what they want to do with it. So sometimes Antonio's up top, and sometimes it's the French guy who's actually the leading
Hilaire.
goal scorer.
Yeah.
Yeah, but one of the stats when you contacted me to do this and I started pulling it up was big chances created that I found on one of the match analytics sites, and it just doesn't seem like there's a lot of like bigger chances being created necessarily. I don't know if that's link up play or if it's out of the back or what the issue is. But I know from watching us play matches against West Ham, Antonio is probably the guy that scares me the most, just because he's got a lot of qualities that give us trouble, generally speaking. So
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. The link-up play has been atrocious. I don't think we played well in the midfield at all. I think some of our attacking wingers have had some subpar seasons. Felipe Anderson screams out subpar to me the most. I think he's had a very, very disappointing year. He hasn't scored yet. I think he has like 3 assists. In my opinion, he should lose his spot. He was injured the last match versus Southampton, which forced us to play 2 up top, which the fans have been clamoring for the entire
right,
year. And Pellegrini sort of forced his hand a bit, but we looked better, we looked brighter. I hope Anderson doesn't start. I'd be disappointed if he did. And also, we definitely need to play 2 up top because Allaire and Antonio, like you mentioned, we're really productive together, in my opinion. And that was the first time they had been played together up top all season. Hilaire scored. It ended his. I think he scored only one in the last 12 or 13 matches before that. Antonio's been all over the place. He just came back from injury, but you're right. I think he's been one of our best players.
yeah,
If he hadn't been injured for 3 months, he could be in the front runner for Hammer of the Year just based on the way that he's playing. But yeah, I think you're right, and I think it's warranted that you're a little nervous of him. He gives everyone problems. The combination of his strength, his size,
that's
and his
yeah.
speed is pretty unique.
You don't find guys that have that combination of it that often. I mean, you either get like a super pacey dude like Vardy, who is super pacey, but he can be pushed around and he's not that tall or whatever. You get a guy like that that's got size, speed, and strength, and that's the thing is it's scary because he's going to be able to get his position. He's also going to be able to beat if you let him get out and get free and get running. So
Yeah,
uh, you really have to have a good solid plan in place for what you're going to do with him.
yeah, yeah. He's yeah. He's a handful for sure. So as a West Ham fan, what should we be worried about from a Leicester point of view?
So there's a couple of things that honestly, and I'm not just saying to blow smoke because I'm on a West Ham broadcast, but it worries me about this fixture. So number one is obviously we just got done yesterday losing to Man City. Then we've got Liverpool at home, and then 2 days later we get you all at the London Stadium. That in and of itself. If you told me nothing else, that would concern me because we're still not an incredibly deep squad. And Rodgers has already said that they're going to at some point need to rest people. And my guess is, regardless of how the Liverpool fixture turns out, that it's going to be the West Ham fixture with 2 days to recover. You're going to see. I don't know that you guys will see Vardy. I think, at least based on some of the things that Brendan Rodgers has said, that he might get rested this game. And even if he doesn't at 30 plus, the recovery time, most of the rest of our squad is pretty young and should be okay. But I just don't know. I don't know what to expect from us, because this is going to be sort of one of the first tests of like match fitness and depth that we've really had. So, I don't. I'm concerned about it in the sense that I'm worried about 2 fixtures before being so big and like hyped and really sort of fulcrums for the season. Just emotionally, I'm concerned that they're going to come in, if we lose to Liverpool, that they'll be deflated, two losses on the trot and whatever. And then I'm concerned about them physically, because obviously yesterday Man City ran them all over the field, because they were just so good and clinical yesterday. And I don't know that Liverpool will necessarily do that to them, but I think it'll still be a physical matchup. So I'm not sure. My concern is that you're going to coming into a squad that's a little emotionally, maybe not fragile, but at least emotionally beat up and physically beat up.
Gotcha. So we'll wrap this up, Chuck. Really appreciate you coming out. But before we do, we obviously have to do a little prediction here. So given all we've talked about, given all we've said, what are your thoughts for the match? I know there's another match in between, so it's a bit more difficult to judge the prediction on form, because you guys can easily get 3 points versus Liverpool, and I'm sure you'd be more confident. But as of now, present day, what do you think the score will be?
At present, again, based on my kind of gut feeling that we may be a little tired, both emotionally and physically, I'm going to say that we'll probably let a couple in, and I'm going to hope that even if Vardy rests, we'll be able to get a couple. So I'm going to go with like a 2-2 draw.
2-2. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good. I was thinking about draw, but to be honest, at present day, West Ham have just been so consistently poor. It's basically been the only consistent thing about them, and I just can't see us getting anything against Leicester. You guys have been playing so well, so consistent under Rodgers the entire season. One of the best teams in the league. In my opinion, the 3rd best team in the league, behind Liverpool and City. And in my opinion, it's not that close. So I don't know. As a West Ham fan, we're inherently negative to begin with, but I would say I'm gonna go 3-1 Leicester.
Okay.
Can't really. I could see us scoring, but I can't really see us getting anything. We've also struggled at home mightily this year. We haven't won at home since September. I think we've lost our last 3 home games, 4 maybe. So it's been a poor season, but yeah, I just can't see. I can't see getting anything out of this from a West Ham perspective.
Do you feel like with the poor home form, do you feel like that has to do with the newer stadium, or that it just hasn't really like gelled, or is there a reason for it, or just sort of an anomaly?
I think so. To answer your second question, the reason I think is simply just been we're poor. The tactics are all wrong. Players are underperforming. A lot of players don't have confidence. I do think that being at home, you can sense the fans' frustration more because you have more of your own fans there and they get on you quicker. So that probably has a negative effect, although it shouldn't because they're professionals. But to answer your first question, I don't. It has nothing to do with the stadium move. This is our 4th year in the new stadium. I'm done making excuses. I think all West Ham fans are done making excuses about that. We've been in here for 4 years. We actually had a very good year at home last year, and fans started to say, okay, we're starting to get rolling here. London Stadium's becoming a bit of a fortress for us. It is. I mean, I've been there. It is massive, and
right.
If that place gets rocking, I mean, it can be a fortress. at the end of the day, you have to win. You have to win
Yeah.
to get the fans on your side. You have to win to get the fans up and pumping around. Otherwise, it's going to seem like you're in a vast fishbowl, with nothing
Right.
there. It has nothing to do with the stadium move. I think it simply has to do with poor performance. That's really just lack of execution, lack of tactical flexibility from the manager, lack of execution, and a lack of confidence throughout the club. That's pretty much it.
Gotcha.
It's just no confidence whatsoever in anyone or anything regarding that club right now.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So as you can see, I'm typical West Ham, to be as positive as I am. But hey, Chuck, I think we'll wrap it up there. We hit the 30-minute mark. Really appreciate you coming on. I would love. I won't do the reverse fixture show with you because we are playing in January. I think the 22nd, and I'll be I'm backpacking in South America for a month. So
sweet.
Yeah, I'm pumped. But so I don't think I'll do the reverse fixture show with you. I think Tim, the guy who started American Hammers TV, will do it. But yeah, just wanted to thank you for coming on. Really appreciate your time, man. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a cool segment. Appreciate you guys asking, and I'd be happy to do it anytime.
Cool, man. Sounds good. Really appreciate it, Chuck. I hope you enjoy your holiday.